Simply Shawna here. We've got little Tucker, our sous chef, and my good friend Lyneida.
Hi guys!
Lyneida is going to be celebrating her 600th sale soon. What are you at today?
I'm at 590.
590 sales. So in January, she had 36 sales. She had 2,000 listings and 36 sales. And now we are in May. This video is going to be airing in June, and she is at almost 600. So there's just been an explosion of growth over the last 4 months.
Oh yeah. Well, you remember when I texted you a little bit back about my 200th sale and how excited I was?
Yes, actually I was filming that day.
Yeah.
I was so excited to share it with you guys. I knew you'd be excited for Lyneida also. And so I interrupted my own video to let you know that she had just got her 200th sale. Actually, let's check out that clip right now. I just got a message from my friend Lyneida. I've mentioned her before, and she just got her 200th sale. So she just sent me a funny message. I'm gonna show it to you right here. We're a bunch of GIFs dancing and just silly things. And it's just been so exciting. I've been kicking the idea around of doing an interview with her because she made some very specific changes in her shop mid-January. And in like literally less than 2 weeks from that point, things started to change. And now she's getting daily sales. So a little less than 2 months later, she went from 36 sales, and those were very sporadic, and she had like 2,000 listings. 2,000 listings with only 36 sales, and that was mostly from friends and family. And so now those changes that she made, and by the way, those changes have a lot to do with the topic of this video that just came to me. Like, a lot to do with the topic of this video, because she wasn't doing what we're talking about here, and she started doing it amongst a couple of other things. I'm sure you guys are excited to hear more about the changes that Lyneida made in her shop. We were actually just baking some fresh bread. We're about to put this in the oven. It should be done by the time we're finished, and hopefully we'll just share it with you. As we all know, baking bread requires a combination of precise ingredients and careful execution to achieve that perfect fluffy loaf. Well, the same holds true for creating a thriving Etsy business.
And I think we're ready. Should we start and share what I've been up to in my shop that created such exciting change?
I think so. We're ready to hear the essential ingredients that Lyneida had to make success in her Etsy shop. Follow us over here, guys. So without further ado, let's hear about Lyneida's story. Lyneida, do you want to start with telling everybody kind of when you started your shop and those beginning months and the beginning of your story?
Okay, so I don't remember the exact month that I started my shop, but it was definitely like 2 years ago. And so Shawna had started hers, and she was starting to see sales, and we were seeing growth. I was like, okay, yeah, she was always like trying to get us to do it too, because she wanted us to have that success, and she had seen what Etsy can give her, and so she was always pushing us to do it. So I was like, okay, let me open a shop. And so I started designing, I started doing some things. I wasn't consistent with it though. And then when I started it like 2 years ago, after that we had some family emergencies. My in-laws got COVID. My father-in-law actually passed away from COVID. And so life got in the way, and so we were managing all of that, and so I wasn't designing. I here and there maybe posted something, but I would go months without posting anything. And then after things started to calm down a little bit, I was like, okay, I really need to get into this, because I keep seeing what was happening with Shawna's shop, and I was like, okay, I need to get on this as well. And so I think the beginning of the next year, I started designing for like Valentine, very much into like holidays and stuff. So I was like, okay, let me put some Valentine's stuff up. Let me put some St. Patrick's Day stuff up. And then I also just started, life happens. I started to get tired at work, would come home and just not want to do anything, and was just kind of wanting to be on the couch and watch some TV. And I have a stressful job. And so I just, again, let it fall a bit and wasn't as consistent. And then we went on our annual friends trip that we always go with the 5 of us. And we went on a cruise, and then Shawna was just talking to us about everything that was going on with her shop and how amazing it was. And she was even considering not going back to work. And I was like, whoa. are you sure? I kept telling her, like, are you sure? You don't want to just wait just a little bit longer to make sure that it goes okay? But she was just so motivated, and things were just popping off so quick for her in those 2 years of her shop. And when I saw that she was thinking of not going back to work, I was like, oh my God, this could be me. So when we got back from our cruise, I went at it. And for about 2-ish weeks, I was consistent every single day. At least, I would try to put at least 5 new designs up a day. I would have, I think at that point she had already told me a trick about like daily sales. So I was trying to do some daily sales, and I was doing consistent listings every single day. After 2-ish weeks, maybe close to 3, I get to work and I get my first sale, and I FaceTime Shawna in my office just dancing around. Shawna, I got my first sale. I was so excited.
And I was screaming
Yeah.
here.
I closed my door and I'm just dancing in my office, and we're both screaming, and I'm asking her what to do and how to connect it and like how to put it through and everything, and I was just so excited. And it was definitely a little bit slow after that, but I did get another sale, and I just kept with the consistency. And I put up, oh my God, I put up so many designs. I was like, I need to get as many designs, because then Shawna was always saying, like, the more designs you have, the more sales you'll get. So I had that stuck in my head. But that's where I also faltered a little bit. I was so just focused on just getting as many listings up that I wasn't getting unique listings up. Now, GoDaddy and Creative Fabrica are my 2 best friends. I use GoDaddy for basically all my designs, and when I got into Creative Fabrica that Shawna had told me about, I was like, whoa, this is a whole new world. But it was also a little bit of a downfall for me, because they had such cute things and kind of designs that were already set, but a lot of people use those designs, and what I would do is I just download a bunch of those designs and just put them on shirts. Just put them on shirts, because I just had it in my head, well, the more designs I have, the more sales I'll get. And even though I sporadically got some sales, like Shawna had said in her previous video of my 200 sales where she mentioned it, I had 36 sales by January, so I'm like, our cruise was in July. By beginning of August is when I had that first sale. And then from August into January, sporadically 36 sales. And I think the majority was in December, where I had like one listing that kind of went off for me a little bit. And so I think it was a couple's pregnancy listing, and Christmas themed. And so I was like, oh my God, maybe it's starting for me. And then I wasn't getting anything after that. And Shawna was always telling us all these different tips, but I was stuck on the one of get as many listings up. Just get as many listings up. And I wasn't listening to the other things. I wasn't listening to get Creative Fabrica, but make it your own. Make your own unique designs. Do your market-based research. Have different type of listings. Have single listings, couples listings, pregnancy listings, group listings. Like, have a variety for people to be able to look at, and have different niches, evergreen niches, you know, more specific niches. Like, don't just do generic things. And so once I started with our Etsy nights in January, and I was like, I really need to figure out other things. I need to really listen to what Shawna is telling me. So in January, after our Etsy nights, I started to implement all the little things that Shawna was telling us. And even one of them was the daily sales. In the previous months, I was getting lazy with it, and so I would do monthly sales instead of daily sales, because I would forget to put them up every day. And so to not forget, but to always have the sale, I would do a monthly sale. So even in January, after we started our Etsy nights, when I switched back to putting up daily sales, within a couple of weeks, I already noticed a difference in my views. I already noticed a difference in how many views I was getting. All of a sudden, it was increasing. the different listings that I was putting up, the different types of listings that I was putting up. And so even that smallest change that seems insignificant, like what difference is it gonna be to have a monthly sale in comparison to a daily sale? But it really does make a difference. And some of the things that you might hear in her videos, they seem insignificant, but they're all the same things that she's telling us. And the minute I started to apply that, other than just get a lot of listings up, I started to notice a difference. And so after January, within a few weeks, I start noticing my views increasing.
There's another thing you did in January also. Well, I will link the sales video that goes into what Lyneida was just mentioning with the sales down in the description below. But and Lyneida just mentioned we were getting together for weekly Etsy nights, which we've been doing every Thursday night. We have dinner, and we just sit with our friends, with our friend Shay and our friend Mike, and her husband doesn't join us for that, but
well, he was about to tell me. Once I started getting sales, he actually confided in me that he had been thinking about telling me to quit. Because he had seen how much work I had put in. I had over 2,000 listings. Like, you're putting in all this work and it's just really not kicking off the way it did for Shawna. Maybe you should stop. That's what was going through his head. Then once I started getting listings, he definitely didn't think that anymore. He definitely is glad he did not tell me to quit now.
And I would have had to have killed him if he told her to quit, and he knows that.
Yeah.
So we did start to get together those Thursday nights. That started mid-January. And there was something that we started doing right away. When you guys would come over, we would open our computers. Do you know where I'm going with this?
What, the stats?
Yes. So could you tell our viewers what stats we started looking at in your shop?
Well, one was the little toggle that I didn't know about. Or I just didn't pay attention to it. I never had it on. So I remember when we were looking at my shop and Shawna's like, where's all your information? Where's all your stats? Like, we need to see. So we started to look at the views. We started to look at like the favorites. We started to see which items were getting viewed more. So like which niches were being viewed. Then we started also talking about ads. And then with the stats and adding ads and the sales, like we started to see an increase in all of those things. So paying attention to what was getting viewed more or what was starting to get favorited, it's like, okay, buckle down on that. People are liking that. So they did the little heart. They liked it. So, okay, make more designs of that same listing. You know, make a different colored version or make another somewhat like similar version but with like maybe a little bit of a different design. But people are liking that. And so every time I got a favorite of something before I like started getting all the sales, I'd make sure to make more. Okay, make more, make different colored versions, make this, whatever. But pay attention, because if people are looking at that, they're searching that, they're wanting to see that. So make more of that.
Lyneida's talking, in case you're not familiar, Lyneida's talking, we've discussed it on this channel before. In your Etsy app, you go to the listings tab. You open your listings tab. At the top right-hand corner is a little toggle. You toggle that over. It says stats. You make sure that's toggled over. It seems to be like deep by default.
Yeah.
Toggled off. Because everybody I've helped with this,
it was off
we had to toggle it on for them.
longest.
So you want to make sure that that's toggled on. That's going to show you in the last 30 days what's been visited, like which of your listings, how many visits they've had. There will be a bunch with 0, but focus it on the one that has 5 visits.
Yeah.
Or if you have 20, do a happy dance and buckle down on that. I love the way that you said buckle down on
Yeah.
visits. Double down, buckle down on the ones that are getting visits. Okay, so you mentioned also ads. How did we pick those? Do you remember how we picked those initial listings that we put ads on?
I think the specific ones are the ones that I either got sales or the ones that were getting more views. So once we started with ads, I think it started with like $1 a day.
Yeah.
It was minimal because I was a little nervous. I was like, I don't want to spend all this money on ads. And this was just before my sales like kicked off. I was like, oh, I'm nervous to like have to shell out this money. and then not be getting sales because I already had so many listings and, just sporadically getting sales. I was just nervous that it wasn't going to kick off the way it did for her. And so I was nervous to like spend any money. I was like, well, let's start with $1. Let's start with $1 at first. And then after like a week or two, I think in one of our Etsy nights, you were like, let's just bump it up. I think we took it to like $3.
Yeah.
And so we're just like, okay, let's do it. Let's bring it up to $3. And I think within a couple of weeks of that is when I got like a couple of orders within a day. And I was like, oh my God. Shawna knew from then on, like after a couple of days of like getting some sales, when she saw her name in a text in caps, then it was a good text. Be Shawna!
And the text would shout at me like, Shawna!
It would be like early in the morning. Because I would get up early for work, and I know that she gets up early. And so it would be like 6 something in the morning, 7 something in the morning, Shawna! I got a sale! And it so quickly changed from getting no sales to very immediately daily sales. I think in that first week that I got daily sale, there was only one day in between that I didn't get a sale. But I got at least 1 sale a day from one day to the next. It completely changed. It was instant. It wasn't like the other ones where I got a sale here, I got a sale there. Like next week I got 2 sales, then maybe in a week I got like 3 sales. No. This was instant. I got a sale, and then I got another sale the next day, and then another sale, and then 1 sale of like a sweater, and then I don't think I got one the next day, and then another one the next day, and then 2 when I got 2. Shawna, I got 2. And from then on, I've had just about every single day at least 1 sale, and that was in March.
So take us back, because I remember the night that kind of launched you into these daily sales and the specific listing that launched you into the daily sales. We were here at my house for an Etsy night, and while we were here, you got messaged by a potential customer. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So there was this listing that I had up that somebody... Tucker wants to be a part of the video.
Here. We'll put him on our lap.
There we
so
go.
That he's quiet.
He wants to be a part of it. Tuggy butt. So there was this listing that I had up that the lady wrote to me and wanted me to try to do like a different version of it. And so I did, I think it was like 4 different like options, and this was all during Etsy night. And so I'm asking Shawna, okay, should I just send her 1 option? Should I send her 2? No, send her a couple of options to see what she likes. Okay, so I sent a couple of the options.
And before you designed them, what we jump on and do in that niche?
Market research. We went searching to see what was popular in that niche so that I could do and get like examples. And so then I went into my best buddy, Creative Fabrica, and looked up some designs that I can incorporate into what that specific listing was designed, but more geared towards what she was asking.
Like Lyneida noticed the different elements within that niche that were popular. So this wasn't the niche, but let's say it was a country western type of thing, and you're noticing, oh, there's cowboy boots, there's there's the skull of the bull or something like that. So we noticed the elements that were popular in this particular niche, and we noticed that this particular sub niche of this niche didn't really use one of these elements very much. So that was one of the things that you pulled into that design.
Yeah, I mean, I had different options that were similar, but just kind of like all over and like giving different options.
Different color schemes.
Yeah, different color schemes, different actual graphics. And so I sent her, and I think it was like 4 or 5. And so I sent her some options. I didn't actually hear from her right away, but my trusty friend Shawna over here was like, why don't you post those and make listings out of those? And I was like, okay, yeah, it can't hurt. Well, best thing I ever did, because those listings have been what have kicked off for me and have just spiraled off into my daily sales. And that was maybe, again, like 2-3 weeks before I got my first big listing. I did end up getting a sale from that lady, so thankfully she actually did buy. I just didn't hear from her right away. But my listings started to sell right after that and have just kept selling. And so now I just keep, every time I see somebody liking one of those listings, I have made other options, different color schemes, different designs, but that are similar in that niche. And then I'll take some of those designs from that specific niche and use it into a different niche, but using some of those same graphics where it would still fit in. So it's really seeing like what people are looking for, what they're liking, and building on that. Really is building on what you see that is popular or what people are liking in your specific shop. On top of like the market research and seeing like the best sellers and seeing what is popular that people are buying out there. But specifically for your shop, like when you see a niche going off and people liking those things, then you need to build on that. You don't like, start with, I don't know, Christmas bachelorette or something like that, and you're getting likes in that. And I was like, oh, well, let me design in country western. It's two completely different things. Like, I'm not saying don't do that, especially if it's something that like interests you. Mm-hmm. But if you see that people are liking those Christmas bachelorettes, then do some more designs of the Christmas bachelorettes. It really is like, it seems like a lot of the things that Shawna might say in her videos seem like, how can that make such a big difference? I am living proof. This is not like us trying to sell something. It's not like, it really is. I had over 2,000 listings for months and was not seeing any of the type of growth that Shawna had within just having a few hundred listings. Like, a huge difference. And it's because I wasn't listening to a lot of the tips that she was telling me. The minute I started to change that and we had our Etsy nights, I have seen a difference.
So would you say it's important whether you are able to come to my house for an Etsy night or whether it's listening to instruction on YouTube, whether it's joining someone's mentorship group or a course, or just watching YouTube videos, which is basically what I did. Do you think that's an important piece here?
100%. I mean, one of the first homeworks that Shawna gave us was 20 minutes a day. Watch a YouTube video. It doesn't have to be mine. It doesn't have to be this. Just find YouTube videos that are talking about Etsy and just get as much information as possible. Now, we have an upper hand because we have our own little personal Etsy guru over here that's constantly talking to us and constantly like motivating us and telling us all of these things because she wants us to succeed. But that was literally one of her first homeworks, and that's one of the first things that we all started to do and that I started to do is I was not watching a single Etsy video from anybody, YouTube, anything before January. And there's things that, even though a lot of those things might be similar to what Shawna's already told us, there's things that sometimes pop up, even just in how to design. There's videos out there on what are popular ways to design, like how to lay things out, that I never would have, which that's something I have an issue with, is I get stuck on the creative part of like, okay, are they looking all the same? Am I doing the same thing? How else can I like position the words so that it looks cool? I get very self-conscious of like how I'm designing, and then a lot of my things tend to be the same, or like I was doing in the beginning with the Creative Fabrica of just like putting them up. So there's videos out there for everything. So yes, 100%, look at videos, watch videos, get as much information, do mentorship groups, do anything that you can, and have your own little Etsy community that can help you to grow your shop. It 100% is doable. We had completely different journeys, but those videos and those tips help for a reason. Like, they're out there and people are watching them because they actually do help. And I am 100% living proof of that.
You're learning a new skill, and when you're learning a new skill, that's hard. And the fastest way to learn that new skill is to be either involved with other people that already know how to do it to help you, or to watch instructional things to help you. So we've been lucky that we're building our little own Etsy community over here. I've joined mentorship groups because Cassie was, offering one, and I happened to sign up for that right at the right time. But YouTube videos is the, the main way that I was able to do that, and that was a big piece that I know Lyneida was missing during those initial that upload of those 2,000 listings. Besides, she told you she was doing a lot of creative fabrica without
Don't do it.
changing it, without making it unique, and then just not listening to people who are teaching the best way to design or the best strategies about how to get successful. All right, Lyneida, just so everyone has the growth timeline in their heads correct here, you take us from January, you had 36, you messaged me 36 sales. In March, you
End
messaged
of February,
me.
it was like February 28th, February 27th that I got like my first sale. Then the next day. So it was just at the end of
Like getting those
February,
daily
but
sales.
basically starting March
Okay.
of getting those daily sales.
Okay. And then in March, sometime in March, maybe mid-March, you had messaged me that you got your 200th sale. All right, so tell us, that brings us through April and May. Tell us about April and May.
It's been a little slower. I still get just about daily sales, maybe a day here and there where like I don't get a sale, but it's definitely slowed down a bit. And I know that there's ups and downs when you're first starting out. It's not, I mean, it's like with any growth, it's not completely linear. There's, hills and valleys and all of that. So I know that was going to happen anyways, but then you start to have copycatters that start to copy your designs. I noticed a drop pretty quickly once we noticed that I had copycatters. And it wasn't just like we noticed one shop specifically. Shawna saw it and didn't want to tell me at first. And at first I was very like, oh, it's no big deal. But then I started noticing the difference. And I started noticing the decline in my sales.
Now, we did combat it. We kind of came at it with an artillery type of like attitude. What were you could kind of share with the viewers, what were some things that we did to try to hustle those sales back your way?
Oh, what's that thing called? The
loss leader.
Loss leader. I knew it was L something. LL. The loss leader. We definitely incorporated the loss leader. And then, have you talked about like the regular pricing and the...
Yeah, regular pricing versus break-even pricing.
Okay.
Yep.
You're right. There was a video for that. So we definitely did the loss leader to some of my listings, especially some of like my popular listings. And then I also started designing new things and started doing the regular prices versus break-even pricing, just to see how that would go, and just doing that like A/B testing, just to see what was working, just anything, any options out there to kind of try to help with the decline in sales and the copycatters.
If you're not sure, I'm going to interrupt you really quick. If you're not sure what a loss leader is, that is when you price one of your items. You might take a loss on it, but it's an inexpensive item. And that way, when someone, that'll be the first, because Etsy is pulling that starting at price to put under the listing. It makes it more clickable for, to get clicked into, which helps you in the algorithm. Because Etsy knows that when they put it in front of people, it's more likely to get clicked on. And then Lyneida is mentioning A/B testing. She started A/B testing the break-even pricing versus profit pricing or regular pricing with the profit already worked in. If you want to know more about that and A/B testing in general, I do have a whole video about that. I will link it down below. But yes, those were the strategies that Lyneida employed to try to grab some of these sales back her way.
And I definitely noticed, especially with the loss leader, a difference, like within a couple of days of doing it. I definitely noticed that change in getting now some more sales in some of those listings that I was getting sales. I mean, some of my, I've gotten some bestsellers from these popular listings that I've sold, which is great. All of that helps in the algorithm and getting your shop seen and your listing seen more. But the copycatters have really, really affected me because I am such a new shop. So even though I'm not complaining, I still get regular sales. It's just not to the amount, because I mean, there was some days where every day I was getting 2, 3, 4, 5 sales, and they'd have multiple shirts in a sale. Whereas now, maybe I'll get a sale today, but it's just one shirt. or maybe tomorrow I'll get 2 sales, but it's just a shirt each. So even just the volume of the amount of shirts that were being bought regularly has declined, even though I still get semi-regular sales. So if you're out there and you're doing some market research, don't copy people, please. It really does affect the shops. I'm not saying that you don't get inspiration, that you don't get, like, you look at people's listings, you see what's popular, and you get inspiration from that, and you get ideas from that. Get that inspiration and do a different version of it. It'll still be popular. It'll still be something that's being sold because it's obviously working for other people. People are selling them, but you don't need to copy other people, please.
It is going to happen no matter, where you're at in your shop. I'm having an issue with copycatters right now also. And no matter where you're at, just know that this is something we all wind up having to struggle through. Now with Lyneida's case, it was like explosive.
Like it was many shops.
It was many shops.
And it was like, I think minus the font being exactly the same, it was identical.
Yeah,
identical.
So many of them. And not just like she doubled down. At least Lyneida doubled down on the design herself first. And she did 5 different color schemes on this design that was doing really well. So at least she was able to cash in on that before the copycatters came in. But the copycatters came in and they grabbed her same font, they grabbed her same elements, they laid them out exactly the same way. It was a little bit rampant.
Same phrasing, just all of it.
It was pretty bad. Also, and just to be clear, most people who copycat won't actually make much money from that copied design because now there's already designs out there that look like that have already been selling. But because of that position of being a niche that was really coming into season and just being a newer shop versus some older shops that were doing it that really should know better, that's what happened. I'll also say this on the topic of copycatting. I don't know if I've said this to you before. My sister-in-law and we have watched shops that copycat, and we actually have seen shops that aren't infringing on Disney or anything like that, but we know that they're copycatting my sister-in-law's shop, and we know that they're copycatting my shop. Now that Lyneida's in the mix, we could see when they're copycatting Lyneida's shop. I've seen shops get shut down, and the only thing that it could be is that, because they're not infringing on anything else. There was a shop that Danielle and I, my sister-in-law and I were watching that had 60,000 sales. So it was a huge shop. They were copying my things. They were copying my sister-in-law's things. Have I told you this before?
No.
My sister-in-law is the data-driven person. She's a data-driven person, and she's going to be one to message that shop to let them know, hey, you're copying my things. They disappeared.
Really?
So, and I've seen it happen maybe 3 other times where shops disappeared, and it's if you start copying people's things, they're going to start reporting you for it. And none of us want a bunch of reports that we're getting, that we're copying someone's things. So just be very aware of that. Be very careful of that. It's not a great way to set up your business. It's not a long-term way to set up your business. So I do smell the bread baking. I think it's almost done. Before we take you over there, just to kind of recap that real quick, Lyneida she is almost sitting now at the end of May at almost 600 sales. I think she's 10 short of 600 sales. So yes, it slowed down over the last 2 months, but she is almost at 600 sales. So that's huge. She's definitely on the road to such a successful Etsy career. We were hoping she'd have 1,000 by the end of May. That was kind of my prediction, but those copycatters did slow her down. She's rebuilding, and that's what we all should be doing when that kind of thing happens. You keep putting things out in that niche. You branch out to other niches that are maybe related or other niches that are coming up that could be good sellers. So to recap some of the important things here, what were the things that Lyneida changed to go from 36 sales 4 months ago to just shy of 600 sales today? 1, market research. Make sure I don't miss one. Market research. 2, listening to instructions, studying.
The Shawna.
Okay. And 3, it was looking at your stats on a regular basis, On 4, we started running ads in Lyneida's shop.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to throw out at people to remember?
Daily sales and loss leaders. Those were some big, especially when the copycatters came. So those are some really big changes that I made that, again, maybe seem like, how can that make a difference? But it definitely made a difference in my shop. And I have, over 2,000 listings, and it took me over 2,000 listings to listen to Shawna and to implement those things, to make those changes and see the changes. If you're starting out right now and you're not seeing those things and you only have a couple hundred listings, keep going, implement these things. And every time I implemented these things, within a few weeks, I saw a change. So it can definitely happen. So those are some big changes that we made in my shop.
Along with consistently listing.
Oh,
you were seeing that change after implementing those things within a few weeks and continuing to list during that period of time.
Yeah, super consistent.
All right, that bread smells good. Should we go check it out?
Yeah, let's go check it.
Let's go. All right, it smells so good.
So good.
All right, guys, as we take these loaves out of the oven, I think it's really important to remember that having all the ingredients for success is key.
Wow, this loaf looks so good.
But what happened here?
Oh, no.
Market research, great designs, solid SEO, paying attention to stats and ads really came together for Lyneida as a great recipe for success. If you aren't quite there yet, guys, keep playing with your recipe. I know Lyneida's so glad she did not give up. With the right ingredients and a pinch of perseverance, you can achieve your goals and create an Etsy shop that rises above the rest. We are going to dig into this bread, but we hope you will be hanging out with us in this one here. And of course, not until after this tip from our sous chef, Tucker.
Tucker, take it away.